Populists are trying to forge new alliances. This week, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister, Matteo Salvini, travelled to Warsaw for meetings with that country's right-wing ruling party. He speaks of radical change and a new populist spring for Europe.
So, given that Europe has for years been used to a Franco-German axis, we are preparing ourselves for a new equilibrium and a new energy in Europe. And Poland and Italy will absolutely be protagonists in this new European spring, this rebirth of true European values, with less finance, less bureaucracy, more work, more family, and above all, more security.
In the 5 years since the last EU elections, established populists have increased their vote share in national parliaments. New parties have burst onto the scene with nationalist narratives against migration and the institutions of the EU. But where once such parties called for the end of the EU, now they call for change from within. Populist parties will campaign hard for a majority in the EU's parliament. And no issue is more likely to energise their campaigns than migration. The huge influx of 2015 and failed attempts by the EU to share the burden have underpinned the populist surge. Hungary's Viktor Orban has led the revolt against what he sees as the pro-immigration agenda of countries like France and Angela Merkel's Germany.
I feel constant pressure from Germany that Hungary should allow migrants in, and we should become an immigrant country. Despite ongoing German-Hungarian cooperation, we cannot accept this. I don't see any compromise possible here.
Few doubt that the moderate majority of centre, left and right, which has dominated the EU for decades, will be threatened as never before.
We could therefore be seeing the EU still very much being in existence, unlike some of these yellow vests or some of the Brexiteers in Britain think. The EU's not going anywhere, but if Orbán gets his way, it will be a different ideology that's controlling these institutions.
The populist presence in the parliament is bound to increase. But while Europe's populists have much in common, they don't see eye to eye on everything. Winning lots of seats in the EU parliament is one thing. Working together effectively in a coherent bloc could be much harder. Simon McGregor Wood, TRT World.